Time now for some stories to start your morning, sponsored by Ram Trucks, built to serve. We've got some breaking news out of the NFL this morning. Derrick Henry could possibly be done for the season. Adam Schefter just now tweeting Henry suffered a potentially season-ending foot injury during Sunday's win over the Colts. Henry is undergoing an MRI today to determine the full extent of the damage. But no matter what, this is shocking news. Nick, what was your reaction to this?
My reaction is multifold as it plays out in real time. First one is just an awful week for MVP candidates not named Matt Stafford. I mean, just Josh Allen and the Bills score 3 points in the first half. Tom Brady throws 3 picks. Justin Herbert plays poorly. Joe Burrow loses to the Bengals. Dak Prescott doesn't play. Kyler Murray got hurt earlier in the week. Meanwhile, Stafford scores 38 points. Looks great. Derrick Henry gets hurt, and they win despite that. So that's first point. Second thing I thought of was, if you're the Colts this morning, you're waking up saying, oh, my God, if we win that game, we're a game back. We split the season series, and they might have just lost their best player for the year. Now you're 3 games back, got swept in the season series, and you're probably done. And then lastly, and maybe most importantly for the Titans, Broussard, I think this is, unfortunately, if it's true, I feel sick for Derrick, who's on one of the greatest running back stretches ever. But I do think this is the emperor has no clothes moment for Ryan Tannehill. I think that folks have, been nice and said, oh, Tannehill's better than we've given him credit for. It was the Adam Gase thing, and Tannehill's fine. And A.J. Brown, particularly after the Bud List motivation, has been excellent. We know he's a great player, but so much of what Tennessee does on offense is predicated by teams being terrified of Derrick Henry. One could argue, in fact, not one could argue, it is inarguable. He's the most important non-quarterback in the league. And if he's done for the year, because they have such a big lead, I still think they probably make the playoffs, because the AFC South, 4-game lead is a massive lead, which is what they have on Indy. But this ruins their chances of any real damage in the postseason. And I think it's the most, I'm trying to think if there's even a close second. It's the most devastating injury we've had in the NFL this season. I guess Jameis's would be the next closest, but they don't even have a Taysom Hill. They've got a Jeremy McNichols, and nothing against him. He ain't Derrick Henry. So it's just devastating for the Titans.
No, it's horrible, Nick, on all accounts. I mean, one, like you said, you just feel for Derrick Henry. You feel for the Titans, because it does look like they were putting together a special season, and I did think they were a contender to reach the Super Bowl. They're not the favorite in the AFC, but certainly a contender. And I know, in Wilds, I don't know, you may go here. We've seen backups stepping. Dearness Johnson in Cleveland is a freaking revelation. I mean, that dude, he had a nice run again yesterday. He's been really good for them. But even as good as Nick Chubb is, he's not Derrick Henry. All right, Derrick Henry's one of these old school backs, get it 25 to 30 times, Eric Dickerson, Earl Campbell, that type, and he's awesome. And you're not replacing that. You can replace the little part-time running backs, even guys who are really good, but who share the backfield with others. You can replace them with a backup. You can't replace Derrick Henry, so I feel terrible for him. Nick, you're right. They got a nice cushion in their division, but their schedule is tough. Look, we know the division's horrible, but they got the Rams outside the division. The Rams, the Saints, the Patriots, and yes, I'm counting them as a playoff caliber team, the Steelers, and the 49ers. All right, so they're not a lock to make the playoffs just because they're 6-2 at this point. So their season could be entirely downhill, Wilds. And Tannehill, to your point, Nick, he's a game manager who can do a few nice things outside of that, but he ain't carrying you with his arm all season long.
Yeah, we'll see what Vrabel can do, but I agree with you, Broussard, that I think this is more akin to like a basketball injury where you see LeBron go down, or you saw Donovan Mitchell go down, and the team goes with it. We can see what McNichols can do. Maybe it'll be like a Dalvin Cook-Madison situation up in Minnesota, Jenna, but I'm not feeling great if I'm a Tennessee Titans fan today.
Just real quick, the math on it, though, at 6-2 with the tiebreaker against the Colts, even if they go 3-6 the rest of the way, the Colts would have to go 7-2. to make the playoffs. Like, so I mean, they have a 4-game lead. So I think they'll still make the playoffs, Jenna, but I just think their season's de facto over despite that.
Again, Derrick Henry suffering what appears to be a season-ending foot injury, as just tweeted by Adam Schefter. We'll have to wait and see. All right, we'll finish up with a little Bucs Saints, another big injury to talk about. The Saints losing Jameis Winston to a knee injury in the first half of this game. He might be done for the season as well. So what do the Saints now do at quarterback since Taysom Hill is still out with that concussion? Will Brinson threw this one up for grabs. Phillip Rivers, he tweeted, St. Michael's varsity team finishing their season on Friday, and I believe they just missed the playoffs. Rivers, less than 3 hours away, and would consider returning to the right spot. With Jameis Winston tearing his ACL, Sean Payton should give Phillip Rivers a call. Nick, should the Saints sign Phillip Rivers with Jameis sidelined?
If he'd be down for it, I would sign him, and I'm not the biggest Phillip Rivers guy. But here's the problem for the Saints. If Jameis is out, you're starting Taysom Hill when he gets healthy. We all know he's not a quarterback, Broussard. So then they'll eventually have to start Taysom or Trevor Siemian. But if you do that, you can't then use Taysom as his gadget self where he's really good because he's your backup. You could only use Taysom in that fun role when you had 3 quarterbacks. Now you'd be down to 2 quarterbacks. Florio reported they're not interested in Cam. Fine. I think they've got to give Phillip Rivers a call. The defense is too good. They're coming off their best win of the season. They dominated Aaron Rodgers. They just dominated Tom Brady. You can't squander it by playing an H-back at quarterback. So I think you've got to call somebody. Phillip Rivers makes more sense than anybody to me, Broussard.
Yeah, he makes more sense than Cam. I wouldn't look at bringing in Cam. But first of all, I'm fine with Taysom Hill. All right, they were 3-1 with him last year. Goodness. We know he's not the greatest passer in the world, but the 3-1, 70% completions, averaged 208 yards per game. And the advantage that Jameis had over Taysom was big play capabilities with his arm, right? Throwing the ball downfield. Well, they weren't really doing a lot of that. They were dinking and dunking with Jameis. So you can dink and dunk with Taysom Hill, just like you did in the 4 games he started last year, and you won 3 of them. And he obviously adds to your running game, which you're going to strengthen with Mark Ingram, and you still got Alvin Kamara. I would think about bringing in Rivers, though, to back up Hill. And because of the way Hill plays, Wiles, he might get hurt in 4 weeks because he's a rugged runner, right?
I agree.
And then by that point, Phillip Rivers might be ready, acclimated. Then you hand it